Welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Another exciting show, definitely another exciting guest. Going to Los Angeles to talk to the beautiful Miss Denise Wiesner about her journey into that beast mindset. But more importantly, to understand this, there's always another perspective to life. Let's go here. Imagine, if you will, losing your husband and then raising two children, young children, and probably, let's get deep, probably trying to figure life out. Because if you start out with the word, there's always another perspective to life. What was your life's perspective at that moment and that moment prior to the loss of your husband? Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Before we get started with the loss of your husband and how you kept that beast mindset and how you took one perspective and looked at it and then changed it up, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I live in Los Angeles. I'm actually a doctor of Chinese medicine, so I have a practice in Los Angeles. I'm an author of the book Conceiving for Love, Conceiving with Love, and I live life. I just got back from Japan on Sunday, so I'm beast mindsetting it, trying to just live as much as possible.
When this is a two-part question, let's talk about, before we talk about your husband, let's talk about the medicine and so forth. How did all that come about for you?
You know, I started out as an exercise physiologist. I have my degree in kinesiology, which is the study of body movement. And I kind of wanted to go on. I wanted to be a therapist, actually, a psychologist. And I kept meeting these doctors of Chinese medicine and acupuncturists. And everyone kept saying to me, you'd be a great acupuncturist. And I kind of turned the corner and went to school and studied Chinese medicine, and it just changed my life. So that's kind of how it all began. Yeah, 32 years ago.
How did, my degree is the same as yours, exercise science.
Yeah.
How did all of a sudden you go from there to Chinese medicine and acupuncture? Like, it just seems odd. I've never had nobody just approach me and go, hey, try this Chinese medicine and acupuncture, Dre.
It's really about the body, mind, spirit, right? And I worked at the time at this center in the 80s that was dealing with exercise and a special diet, and everyone was put on the same diet. Everyone was put on the same kind of exercise program. And I felt like, gosh, really, there should be an individual approach, right? Not everyone's the same. Not everyone needs the same food. And then it's sort of like I was treated. I was having digestive issues actually at the time, and on this diet. This was like when the carbs were in and protein wasn't, and fat wasn't. So it wasn't good for me. And working with this Chinese medicine doctor that I work with really dealt with body, mind, spirit. And that's, for me, really what's the most important thing, is that it's a whole person and you have to look at everything, not just one aspect. So
how did that change? So you actually embraced and took the treatment that they was recommending. This is how it took to be another level. How bad was the digestive things that you was dealing with that Western medicine didn't recognize or have treatment for?
It's funny. I think I was just having going to the bathroom a lot. And I called my doctor and he was like, yeah, take like Metamucil, which is a fiber formula. And I thought, like, how's that going to solve anything? And I was really very unhappy with his solution for my digestive problems. And that's when I sort of looked for like an alternative, which was Chinese medicine. And really it was body, mind, spirit. She looked at all of me and it improved. And plus the diet that I was eating at the place I was working was just not the right diet for me.
When you said that they looked at the complete picture, how was all of those things offline for you outside of the eating? Like, what was it that you was doing with the other aspect that they was looking at that was quote unquote not in line?
Yeah, I mean, I think in Chinese medicine, and digestive is like the center of our being. So if our digestion's off, we're not okay. In Chinese medicine, digestion, and we call it like the earth element, like the earth mother. And it also has emotions in Chinese medicine, like over worrying and overthinking. they say like damage your digestion. And I believe at that time, the way my psyche was, I was just like having stress basically, but over worrying and overthinking and not having a healthy way to do it. And so it was affecting my digestion. So a lot of the acupuncture stuff was not only working on the giving me herbs and probiotics, changing diet, was also having me look at, issues with my mother and working on this sort of emotional part of it too.
What do you mean when you say issues with your mom without getting it?
Just sort of like growing up with I love how you're digging into my psyche here. Issues with my mom. My mom was very sort of a rest her, she's not alive anymore, but she was very much self-involved and very not so motherly and nurturing and into my life. She was very much into her own life. So it was like issues of not really getting fed in that way. Yeah. A long time ago.
Let me go here with this acupuncture. And the reason that I'm asking these questions, because we do provide educational platform. It's not always that beast mindset. I always tell people that we're all connected. So your story is very much connectable to the listeners. So let's go here. You talked a little bit about your mom, God rest her soul. And it took acupuncture to really probably take it to a different level for you. But let's go here. You're dealing with acupuncture. The closest I know about that is probably watching a kung fu movie, you know, and seeing people put, pins in different nervous system, which we know having the same degree, the nervous system goes, we got tons of pathways that
Yeah.
do different things. But still, I would be nervous about somebody sticking those 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 road maps to my body with needles and numbing the neural pathways. Like, were you ever nervous going on, getting treatment like that?
I mean, I think it's really false to say numbing the neural pathways because that's not what happens. There's no numbing situations. The needles are very, very, very thin. They're thinner than like needles that you get a shot with, at hypodermic needles. They're like thin like paper. And so if you've ever gotten like a deep massage where they poke into your acupressure massage, the needles are like very specific, pinpointed needles. And so it's not, they actually activate the neural pathways. And if you think about the body, we're learning more and more about all the fascial connections. Like
Mm.
everything's connected. So like your feet are connected to your abdomen and your hands are connected to your face. And because there's deep fascial planes, and we're sort of exploring that when you kind of needle a certain area, it releases in another area, and that happens. And so was I scared? Yeah, of course, like needles, like, we grow up with a fear of needles from shots and whatnot, but
Mhm.
needles in acupuncture are very different. And there's also a lot of different techniques of using the needles. Like there's in Chinese medicine, there's, Japanese techniques where you really don't even feel them. So yes, people are scared of needles. I was scared of needles, but I got over that very quickly.
How much scientific? Because we in the mid in this country are more about data, information. How much information has been proven with this method? I know you've seen it, you had it done on you, but how much actual information? What makes that different than Western medicine practice is what I'm trying to say.
Um, Western medicine, okay, so back to your question, there's a lot of research on acupuncture, and there's more and more coming out all the time. How it works is it works on your sympathetic nervous system and your central nervous system, really the nerves in your spine and in your brain. And they've done like functional MRIs where they've seen where you acupuncture a point on the foot and a part of your brain lights up. So they've actually done studies. And there's a lot of different kinds of theories of how it releases pain in your body because it does that as well. And so there is a lot of research on, conditions like low back pain, neck pain. And also I use it a lot. I work a lot with women's health. So I do it a lot for fertility. So there's actually studies around fertility and women doing IVF. And there's a lot of studies. But it's hard to study acupuncture because every time you touch a body, you affect it. Right. So they use what's called a sham acupuncture needle, which is like, it's not really going in your system, but it's poking the point. and that's going to cause something in the body to change. So it's a little difficult to study acupuncture, but it's done. And then that's the first part of your question. So there's research, and then you had a second part, which I'm blanking out on the question.
What do you think is the difference between why we haven't embraced that in Midwestern
Yeah,
medicine?
absolutely. I think Western medicine is fabulous, and I use it also, right? I mean, I go to the doctor. Western medicine's fabulous, and what Western medicine has done is it kind of looks in a very microscopic way. So you go to a gastroenterologist for digestive problems. You go to an orthopedist, and specific orthopedist if you have knee problems or back problems, right? You go to a neurologist if you have nerve problems. Everybody's so specified, very specific. We look at bacteria and how to kill bacteria, that we don't look at the bigger, Western medicine doesn't always look at the bigger picture, right? What's affecting what? It's like I have a patient, for example, that came to me. She's a longstanding patient, and she has some kind of like her leg blows up because like some kind of nerve. They don't even know. She's been to a neurologist. She's been to a vascular surgeon. They actually took her vein out because they thought it was like a reflux in the vein, but that didn't solve the problem. And then she's really fatigued. She's been to her regular doctor. Everybody's like, she's been to the gynecologist. She's on hormones. Everyone's like, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. She feels terrible. I kind of had to look at her and I was like, God, you sound like you have like mold exposure. And she says, oh my gosh, I just had mold in my house for like months. I just had it tested. There was like all this mold in my house. And I was like, well, we're going to do a mold test on your body internally and see what's going on. And I'm waiting for the test to come back, but her symptoms are so classic mold. Like everyone missed that because Western medicine's so like specific, like every different body part. And while that's wonderful if you're having surgery or if you need an antibiotic or if you're on, there's a lot of beautiful things about Western medicine. Sometimes it misses the like basic overall picture of the human. Yeah.
How did you suggest the mold thing, and how do you test for that on a person?
There's actually mold tests that you can do. I'm in California. I can do testing on patients. So there's actually mold tests that test if you have substantial mold in your blood and your tissues. So yes, I can do those tests. Doctors can too. They just don't know. It's like it's just, again, it's someone missed this somewhere.
Okay, this is just curious. So what's outside of, you said something about her leg and they took a vein, but what were the flag that showed you the mold?
After the surgery with her leg, and we still don't know why she had that. That's kind of a little like question mark. I'm imagining it's probably from some type of COVID and long COVID, or maybe her immune system. And because we know COVID, the spike protein affects vascular systems a lot in people. I'm imagining that the COVID did something to her leg, and we don't know enough about COVID and how it's affecting the body, And so I'm imagining that's what happened with her leg. But now her other symptoms now is like severe fatigue and lethargy, and that's not who she is at all. So I know, I don't know. It's just, I guess I just happened to like, I know her, and I was like, what's different? This sounds, all her symptoms, congestion, tiredness, sounds moldy to me, because I have had patients that have had mold exposures, bad mold exposures. And so that's what led me. I don't know. I just asked questions, right? What's
Tell me,
different now? Yeah.
tell me about what you do that's different than Western medicine. Like, what are some of the patients that you see? Is it more women? Is it women and men? Is it children? What are some of the things that you do that's different than them going to a physician?
So um, Chinese medicine works on a whole different kind of way of looking at the body. So we look at things like the tongue, we take pulses, we look to see what's going on, and we have different names for things. Like so it's like learning it's like learning a different language. In terms of Western medicine. Western medicine is, and I'm not, again, anti-Western medicine, looks at testing. And I do a lot of that as well. Let's look at the microbiome. Let's look at your digestion. What bacteria do you have that's wrong? People have like small intestine SIBO, small intestine bacteria overgrowth. And while that's cool and they have like antibiotics for that specific thing, Chinese medicine looks at sort of like, well, why do you have that to begin with? Like what's not balanced in your system that's allowing you to have digestive problems or you know, fertility, like why are you not getting pregnant? You know, like yeah, all your tests come back normal and yet you're not conceiving. What's going on, right? So it's like Chinese medicine, herbs, acupuncture, lifestyle help the body to get more balance because we live in a society, let's face it, that's you know really out of balance, right? You know, our environment, sometimes the foods that we eat, you know, the stress levels, all those, you know, working a lot, it all affects our system and we get out of balance. Chinese medicine looks at all those factors, yeah, and tries to put your life back in balance. That might mean for somebody exercise more, it might mean for someone meditate more. So it's just like very specific to what's going on. I hope that answers your question.
But isn't that the same type of um advice that you would get from Western doctors as well? I mean, let's look at your lifestyle, let's look at your environmental habits, let's look at your lifestyle habits, let's look at your nutritional habits.
Yes, yes. And Chinese medicine has more specific looking at your body. So if you stuck out your tongue for me, let's say, and I look at the coating of your tongue, I would say if it's like really thick and I don't know what it looks like, but if it, let's just say you're fine, but you have this very thick yellow coating on your tongue that's not normal, I would be like, we need to, like, there's something going on. There's a lot of dampness in your body, which might mean your digestive flora is not really great. And so I would do specific herbal treatment and a specific diet to clear some of that excess, quote unquote, dampness, which might mean you have an imbalance in your flora. A Western doctor's like, eat more fruits and vegetables, eat more fiber. It's very non-specific because Western medicine doesn't study nutrition at all. Western doctors don't take a course in nutrition in their practice. So they're not going to give you food examples and they're not going to be very specific. They would just say, do a colonoscopy. All right. So it's Chinese medicine looks at subtleties before they become big problems. Whereas Western medicine is good at dealing with big problems.
How are you being California is a lot different than Indiana, Chicago, New York. How was you how was let me put this a different way. How were you being received in California? How do you think you would be received in a different area like Indiana, Chicago, New York with that with your treatments and philosophies?
I have friends all over the world, including all over the states, that practice the same medicine that I do, and that they're received incredibly well. And you know, I have friends in Indiana and Ohio, the Midwest, Nebraska, and they all practice my medicine, and again, are received really well because people don't feel good and want to get better and aren't finding solutions all the time with Western medicine. You know, and this is like, there's many different solutions, right? It's like people come to me. I have a guy that came to me for neck pain yesterday. So it's not just like, you know, and I do also dry needling. I do pelvic floor work. Like it's kind of like I do a lot of things, and that, you know, Western doctor would give him and take an anti-inflammatory. So I'm pretty well received, and Chinese medicine is pretty well received all over the world.
Now, your specialty is really well, your degree as far as state wise is exercise science. So how do you incorporate that? Do you have to have certain license? You're not prescribing any medication. You're just prescribing natural herbs. Like how
Yeah, I
does
mean,
that
I
really
have a
work?
license. I have a license in California to practice acupuncture. I have a state board. It's governed by the state in California. There's also people in other states have their own boards, and there's also a national board. So California is just a little bit different with it's much more rigorous in terms of passing a state board. And I also am able in California to order tests. I'm considered a primary healthcare practitioner in the state of California, which would be different in like New York or, you know, Indiana.
So that means you can also prescribe medication as well.
No, I can't prescribe medication. I can prescribe herbs.
Herbs. Let's talk about that for a minute. What are some of the things that we're missing as far as our knowledge when it comes to herbs? Like, what are some of the key herbs that we as to stay healthy? If you had to just give somebody a starter kit to change his or her immune system, or let's talk about the things that are now surfacing. Uh, uh, Women getting pregnant, male erectile dysfunctions. These are things that we see global. What are some of the herbs that people would probably want to try?
So it's not the thing about my medicine is it's really individualized, which is really why I love it. So it's not like, well, go pick up these at the store and see how you do. It's not that. It's actually they're formulas that are given specifically. So let's talk about erectile dysfunction, right? Like there's a many different reasons for erectile dysfunction. It's something that I treat. I'm also a certified sex coach. So there's different reasons why men have erectile dysfunction. Sometimes it's an emotional. It's something's happened, it keeps repeating. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes they're exhausted, and we say we would treat them with certain herbs for different things. Sometimes men can't conceive because they have like a varicocele, like a varicose vein in their testicles, and that's like blood stagnation. It heats up the sperm and makes them not good. So then I would use herbs to move blood and cool the man down. So it's really hard to say. It's not a one size fits all. I can't say, oh, get this, go get that. It's really like find a practitioner that's an herbalist and consult, or an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine, consult with them and get on a formula that's specific for you.
This sounds expensive. How does a person actually, is there programs for people? Do they do they sell insurance? Like, because everybody may suffer from some type of ailment, but this sounds really good. So how does a person get your services or anybody else's service? Because this is not the same as Western medicine where you're going
Yeah.
into the
I mean,
doctor.
like I do a lot of telemedicine, and so I will go over people's stuff long distance. But how do they get it? Sometimes it's covered by insurance. I'm a provider on insurance, and it covers acupuncture. Right? People unfortunately have to pay for herbs. It's really unfortunate. I just visited Japan, and they have compo herbs, which it meaning their national health pays for herbal medicine. And doctors, Western doctors, use that. Sometimes they prescribe these herbal remedies because they're more effective than Western medicine. And that's in Japan. It's covered. United States has something to learn from that, because there's sometimes a remedy in Chinese medicine that's much safer with less side effects for a certain ailment that would be better than a Western drug. I see it all the time. So we're just not there in our Western. So it can be expensive. That's true. And for acupuncture, a lot of times insurance covers acupuncture.
What is about the average price for that acupuncture, and how long is a treatment? Is there a series of treatments? What's
I
the
mean,
usual average cost?
it's like, I mean, I'm sure it depends on the area, right? Like California, I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm gonna be more expensive than someone in Ohio or Nebraska. My friends charge less, so I'd say anywhere from 75 to 150 a treatment, depending on where you are.
My last question, and let me say thank you for coming on the show too to talk about acupuncture and Western medicine, and definitely educating us on this. But why is there a need for this? You found this to be really intriguing and dive deep into it so much that you invested uh, a lot of time into this. What was the shift change?
I think the shift change was that for me, why I invested in it is because I do believe that there are easier approaches to some problems, and also than Western medicine. I think Western medicine is great, and I think sometimes it's like using a sledgehammer, Western medicine, when you could use um, a pick. It's like it's sometimes a gentler approach with less side effects depending on the condition.
Who would be a primary candidate for this type of treatment? Like someone that may be suffering from what, chronic neck pain, uh,
It doesn't even have to be chronic. It's like anyone with a problem, um, you know, uh, anyone with a problem is a candidate. Like people just want stress reduction. It's really fabulous, right? So
Mhm.
it's really like anyone's a candidate because it's really about looking at the imbalances and the subtleties really before they become problems, right? Sometimes if we nip and get a person regulated in the beginning, they don't have serious problems in the end. It's like I just had a patient who had, I also treat a lot of cancer, so who had a colorectal cancer. It's like he was having blood in his stools for a really long time, and like, oh, whoops, like he didn't do anything about it. Sometimes people wait way too long for things. I don't treat cancer per se. I treat the side effects of treatment and such. But I think
Give me
just
an
going.
idea of what you mean by that so the people can understand. This
So,
guy,
I mean, I'm not allowed. Like, I believe if you have cancer, you need to go to a Western doc, an oncologist, right? And then using all, like Chinese medicine is a great addition to help the side effects of chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and whatnot, and to help balance the strong medication that they give you and
how
the
do
side effects of that.
how does a person evaluate a an acupuncturist?
An acupuncturist. There's you have to be licensed, right? So you want to make sure that someone's licensed. And that's a really great question. I think, like we do at Western doctors referrals. I'm part of for fertility, I'm part of ABORM. It's I'm specialized in reproductive medicine. So on an ABORM site, if you want reproductive medicine all over the world, you can find practitioners if you have fertility issues. But I think it's also, looking at reviews, unfortunately, and assessing if people have good reviews and are well liked and are competent.
My last question. Wow, so much information today. I love this. How can the viewers reach out to you and know more about acupuncture and alternatives to treatment?
I think the best thing is probably just go to my website, which is naturalhealingacupuncture.com. And there, like, I have an Instagram account. I actually start writing on Substack. You could find out more about me, and you can also get a hold of me. There's a way you can email me through my website. It's You can ask me a question and whatnot, and I'll respond.
Now, before we go, let's talk about the big secret here. Not a book on acupuncture, but you're going to write a book on aging in women.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just starting a Substack account, which is Denise Wiesner one, and I'm starting to write poetry prose, and it will be turning hopefully into a book on aging for women because I feel like it's a subject that needs a lot of attention because we're just given like all this information on social media about how we're anti-aging, and we're all going to age, so let's do it in the best, healthiest way we can.
What are some of the myths that you're going to be addressing in this book?
I think
Because
I
you're
want
right.
to.
I hear so much stuff about aging, and we got so many people talking about, well, take a peptide. That's the new thing now. Take a peptide. Take this. Take this anti-aging cream. Look at the model Cindy Crawford, who's been, for years taking orange pills and we extracting the juice and putting up on her eyeballs. Like, what is your book going to address some of these things? What are some of the things you're going to be addressing?
I really think that it starts really when you're younger, aging. We're all going to age, right? And it's like we have a really warped sense of aging in terms of like as women especially, and I think men as well, right? It's like losing hair and it's just sort of like we're going to look at the sort of basics, natural approaches to aging. What they do in the East for, I mean, I just was in Japan, so like everyone has an umbrella and like people like aren't in the sun baking and it's like wow, like they wear long sleeves, it's hot outside. It's like a very different approach to taking care of skin than I had when I grew up. So I'm going to be looking at different like messages from the East, messages from Chinese medicine, and trying to put aging in a different kind of perspective, not on having to. And I'm not anti-taking things. I guess it's not one size fits all, but I feel like with the GLP thing, I'm just like mortified at how many people are just like pounding GLPs. They're good for some people, but and are losing, their face is sagging and collagen. And I wonder long term, I know there's studies that are anti-inflammatory and there's all this good stuff with them, but it's such a like people just want instantaneous fixes I think, in the West. And I feel like maybe we need to kind of go back to basics. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
In other words, if you want to know more, wait till the book comes out.
Yeah.
Subscribe, like, and follow, and get the book. You know what? Thank you so much for taking time to come on the show, Denise. You've been a breath of fresh air with so much knowledge and information. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe, share, click that button. All it takes is one click to make a difference in somebody's life and change your own. This has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show.